Welcome to Fitness for the Rest of Us, the podcast that travels the back alleys and side roads of the fitness world and examines the way exercise intersects with mental health, personal development, culture, and more.
I'm Jessica Callis. I'm a social worker, peer supporter, power lifter, and nap time advocate.
I'm Peter McQueen. I'm a personal trainer, a writer, and a lifelong student of the obscure corners of life.
If you've ever felt like an outsider in fitness culture, this is the place for you. We're here to celebrate all body types and fitness levels, helping you find what works for you. No pressure, just progress.
All right, so here we are once again. It's the season 1 finale, right? Season 1 finale, yeah.
We did it!
Yep, we did it. So I wanted to start off at the very beginning by saying anyone who's listened to the podcast, even if this is the first one you opened up, which would be an odd choice, but anyway, if you've made it this far, if you've listened to us and you're thinking, boy, these guys are off to a good start, you know, they've got good bones here, we've got good rapport and all that stuff, but I just wish we could dig deeper into some of these things. Mm-hmm. I think we both agree, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, we want to dig deeper.
We do, but we needed that kind of introduction. We needed to show some of the basics at first. It's to make sure everybody's on the same page, not with
right.
But
yeah, and just like to touch on all the general areas that we want to delve deeper into. And my thing that I was thinking about was we both want to dig deeper and do more on this show, but in order for us to spare the time to do like assembling research and search, getting people to come on as guests, which I've had a couple volunteers already just by talking about this.
Yep.
And we are going to need to monetize this thing, So I just want to be upfront about that. Like anyone who's listened this far and think, boy, these guys are off to a good start, but they just need a little more momentum. That's how you help us get it. So I'm like coming out front, I've had a little pre-recorded thing on every episode asking for us, like, rate, subscribe, consider going to our Ko-fi page or coffee page. I probably said it wrong. Either way, like now is the time, we're going to go on a break after this. We don't know how long the break's going to be. We're going to figure all that out once we actually launch all this stuff.
Yep.
But if you like what we're doing and you want us to do it more and better, give us some of that sweet green.
Exactly. We'd even be happy to sponsor with other small businesses or other people's ventures.
Yeah, and cross
promote the better.
Yeah, absolutely. The more the merrier. I mean, people who resonate with our values, even if money is not a thing you can give, like, rate, subscribe, share with your friends, spread by word of mouth, all those things like humongously help. Honestly, in a lot of ways, they help more than money in the long run.
Yes.
So this has nothing to do with greed on either of our parts. That should be blaringly obvious.
Yeah.
Like, we just want to be able to do this right. And the way we get that to happen is by putting some actual fuel into it. Before we get started, if you enjoy the show, please remember to like, rate, subscribe, and leave a review on your podcast app of choice. It really does help us out. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and drop a comment below. Also, remember to like, follow, and interact with us on social media. All of our links are in the show notes. If you want to support the show, please consider donating or becoming a member on our Ko-fi page. Members get special bonus episodes, video content, and whatever other goodies we can cook up.
Trigger warning for this episode, we will be talking about mental health, substance use, and inpatient psychiatric hospitalizations. If you need support, go to wannatalkaboutit.org or seek out a therapist.
So we're going to be talking today about inpatient psych ward experiences. We've both had them. Jess, you've had more than one?
I've had one strictly inpatient in 2015, and then I've done PHPs and IOPs as well.
Okay. So I had my first inpatient experience it's been about 6 weeks now, and I'm currently still in the IOP, which for those who don't know is short for intensive outpatient program.
Yep.
It's the program, right? Yeah.
That's right,
and then PHP is...
It's partial hospitalization program. So you basically go to the hospital 8 hours during the day and they let you sleep at home at night. So you're getting all of the therapeutic work, but you get to go home at night.
Got you. Okay. That would have made a big difference for me if I could have done that instead of inpatient. Because not to put too fine a point on it, inpatient is not the most pleasant thing that a person can go through.
No.
And I've been talking to a lot of people about it. I've been very open about sharing where I was, because I came back to work. And of course, I knew that even though I, tried to keep things confidential, I knew the rumor mill would get there eventually.
Yeah.
I have a guy that I work with who just is one of those guys. If you say something to him, he's going to say it to everybody he sees.
Yep.
And he's, as long as you know that about a person, sometimes that's kind of endearing in my opinion. But
yeah,
you got to be careful what you say.
Exactly.
Anyway, so everybody knew, and I walked back in, and so I just decided, okay, I got to control the narrative. It can't be a secret, or people are going to get the wrong idea. So what happened with me, it really all starts a lot close. So as we were recording this, it's still the beginning of June. It's June 6th right now. It started for me back in like March, sometime around March. And in my head canon, which is probably not the actual truth, but in my head canon, it started right around the onset of Lent, right on Ash Wednesday or something like that. But it really was realistically in that time span. I started getting some symptoms that I didn't understand, and I even ran them by you, if you remember. I was cold everywhere I went. I was having like restless leg type symptoms, but in my arms, and my appetite had just completely disappeared.
Right.
And for a good, 40 days and 40 nights, let's just say, to put some time on it, that was how I felt. And that was as far as it really went. Other than that, I was normal. I was my productive self. I had enough energy to get through, my daily tasks. But then around Easter, things started ramping up. And I'm a spiritual person, and I don't believe too much in the woo-woo stuff, but it felt significant to me that I was going through something around that time.
Yeah.
And so I started having what I now recognize to be a manic episode around that time, where the best way I can really describe it, it was just an overabundance of energy and motivation and problematic levels of initiative. And I wasn't sleeping very well. I mean, I was laying down and going to bed and shutting my eyes, and my memory would turn off for a while, but I didn't get rest per se.
Sleep.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I remember around that time, around, Easter, is when I started really feeling like this almost kind of heartburny feeling, but deeper, which I now understand to be associated with the vagus nerve or vagal nerve. I'm not sure which one's the right way to say it, but and I don't know how much of that subjective experience is actually medically relevant and how much of it was just kind of in my head, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that's how it presented for me. And so it was a tightness in my chest. And so I started using words like anxiety and panic attack, right?
Right.
Even though emotionally I was great. I was riding high, man. I was better than I'd ever been,
Yeah.
I taught this one exercise class during that time where I had a guy who was a regular at my classes who ducked out on me for a while because I had this one class I was teaching that I decided to do it more like a training camp where we do the same sets of exercises over and over and over again so that people can see improvement week on week. And we did it. And I know that the herd kind of thinned as I did it. I knew I was going to lose some people, but it thinned more than I wanted to. Now, the people that stayed made serious progress, and it was super cool. Like we had an awesome time with it. But one of my very favorite guys, one of the guys who brings like this amazing energy, ducked out on me. And 3 weeks in a row, I was like, all right, something's up. I got to go talk to this guy. And so I cornered him one day with a couple other regulars that I had also lost. And I was like, how do I get you guys back? And they were all kind of like, no, we love you. And I was like, finally, I looked one of them in the eye, this lady, and I was like, all right, like, I love you guys too, but one of you guys has to shoot me straight. And she's like, your classes are boring now. And, I was like, thank you for respecting me enough to tell me the truth.
Yes.
Like, I get you. Like, and I said I was doing it for a reason, but I feel you and I understand. And hey, come back next week and I'll do it completely different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I put it together and it was unlike anything I'd ever done. It was the most unstructured, loose class. We set up these like pods of exercises that you kind of rotate through. I had them all random spots and everything was kind of out of order and you had to kind of compete for pieces and stuff like that. And then during these like team drills in between. It was totally chaotic. I was like, do whatever this guy's doing. And like, yeah. And I coached my way through it. I was more involved with people rather than being like trying to get them to adhere to a kind of form or a very specific movement pattern. I just watched what they were doing with the equipment and gave them tips, being like, hey, maybe, put your feet in closer, put your feet out wider, or whatever it is, like go a little lower, keep your back straight, whatever it was. And it was really, really cool. Like but I felt like I was out of my body the whole time, or more like I was floating like 2 or 3 inches up out of my body. And so it was a really aggressive flow state, and that's something that I know that term from psychology. You're familiar with that term, right?
Yeah.
Flow state. Okay. Well, just in case anyone wasn't, because it wasn't long ago that I didn't know that term. It's like when you're in the zone is really what it means. And in that movie Soul, the Pixar movie, they depict it in a very artful way, like being in the zone, where like a piece of someone's soul is transported to another realm while they're doing something that they love. Yeah. And so for me, having to come to terms with the idea that feeling was the result of something medically wrong with me, maybe spiral a little bit emotionally. Yeah. And the next day I was just fried and like hadn't slept at all and started kind of freaking out, but I had a therapy appointment, right? So I went to the therapy appointment, let her see me that way. She was justly concerned. Right. And she tried to get me to yawn by putting videos of people yawning on. And I remember, I told you this already, didn't I?
No, not the yawning part. No.
This was the weirdest thing. This is what really made me snap into reality and be like, okay, I've got a problem now. Right. It was when she sat like in the middle of me just going off and talking in the way that I do. She sat her phone in front of me with a video of people yawning on it. Yeah. And I was watching it and I was just expecting it to come, you know, like it did. Like you'll probably give me one here in a minute just by saying the word a few times. Yeah. Like, and it just never came. And I kept wanting to, like mentally, like in a sort of my conscious mind. I was like, okay, now that I've seen this, I want to yawn. And I would kind of stretch a little bit and open my mouth, and then it would just drop out from under me. Wow. And it was the strangest sensation because like I would get there and I could feel like, well, I could keep stretching and that's still stretching. I could keep stretching my jaw and opening my mouth or take a big breath, but it wouldn't be a yawn. And that was the first time it occurred to me that a yawn is something different than the stretch and the breath and the, stretching your jaw and that kind of stuff. Like there's something neurological that happens. Exactly. And I can feel, now that we've talked about it enough, right now I can actually feel like a slight shiver, like my body is wanting like a neurological reset, which is what yawns provide. Yeah. And so now I'm using that now as kind of a radar for what my nervous system is doing and how stimulated I am, because it's not always obvious when I'm going to say this and sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but when you're an articulate person, like, and you, especially when you believe your own bullshit a lot of the time, like it's easy to be in a variety of neurological states and come off more or less the same because you're just that guy that's always talking, Right. Yeah. And so yeah, I've been using that as a self-measurement tool with great effect. I know that if I can yawn and have a truly like deep and satisfying yawn, it makes me feel safe, Good. But not being able to do it, that's a trigger that you need to buckle down and focus on relaxing. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so that was like all the preamble that led me to an inpatient experience. I saw my therapist 2 times during this manic episode, and the second time I was totally disassociated. I mean, I was just glazed-eyed, and I was caught up in a lot of magical thinking because I knew I was not fit to be making decisions that day. Yeah. But Steph had to work, could not get out of it. She has a big, important job. And like, so it was just me and the kids. We got no family in town. There was nothing else. So I just decided my 6-year-old, she's in charge. Yeah. And I'm just, as long as she's happy, the house is going to be a mess. We're all probably going to be a little disheveled, but everyone's going to be emotionally okay as long as she's happy. And so we ate like crap. We had donuts for breakfast and all this stuff and like, whatever, it was what it was. Yeah. But everyone was safe. But because I had been basically just bouncing around in a 6-year-old's head all day, like that wasn't the best thing for me mentally. Yeah. So I got caught up in a lot of like magical thinking. And, and I say that as a spiritual person who kind of rides that line anyway, but I was having grandiose thoughts about really insignificant objects and
Mm-hmm.
weird things that I had written down. And I filled, notebooks and notebooks with just random writing. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And so my therapist at that time recommended that I do an inpatient stay because she said, right now, none of this is negative, but it could turn dangerous any second.
Right.
And I feel like she may have been a little bit wrong on that point. I don't think I have that kind of danger in me, the kind that she was afraid of.
Yeah.
But you don't know. I do have
Yeah.
anger issues, and so it was an abundance of caution situation. So I agreed to it because I knew that I was not fit to make decisions, and so I voluntarily admitted myself, and the whole process was pretty seamless. But I was not really there.
Yeah.
And then the first couple of days in there, man, did I write. I filled every single notebook that they gave me,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so random. I mean, it's just like you see in the movies. And I had started taping stuff to my walls and stuff before I left out in the gym, and some of it's still there.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite, some of it's not entirely crazy, but anyway, yeah, I let myself do that, and that was like the thing that I knew that I needed is I needed space to be crazy for a little while, know. But you scare yourself too, because at least I could see myself in a way.
Mm-hmm.
How it looks from the outside, imagine how it looks from the outside and see like, okay, this, and I'm feeling what I'm feeling internally, which feels very grand. And, I'm putting together these cosmic pieces of the universe and stuff in my head.
Right.
From the outside, realizing, okay, that's not what's actually happening. Like you're having a neurological event here and, you're in a safe place to work it out. But boy, they do make those places unpleasantly safe.
Don't they? Oh my gosh. No shoelaces, no drawstrings.
No drawstring. I know. I was pulling up my pants the whole time.
Yeah.
And actually, I brought 3 pairs of pants. By day 2, I had given 2 of them away because they were drawstring pants and that didn't fit me. They were old because I didn't want to bring any of my new ones or rip the drawstrings out of any of my nice ones. And some of mine are sewn in and everything. So I gave them away to people who didn't have a lot of clothes when they got there because they put you in these plastic scrubs. Oh my God, they're so gross.
So itchy and hot. And
yeah, dude, they don't breathe. Like, and then they got Crocs for you and stuff and the non-slip socks that you get in every hospital. And like, so yeah, a few people like that was kind of my, my reaction to being in that kind of prison-like environment is like, okay, I'm going to make a couple friends like right off the bat, just in case. And luckily that's really all I ended up doing. I didn't make any enemies in there, but it's not far-fetched that somebody could. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Let me pause my story for a sec. Did you have any like big conflicts with anybody or anything while you were in there?
So the first night I was there, I didn't have a roommate. The second night, I had a roommate brought in involuntarily. And when she came in, she was being restrained by 2 very large men. And then they had to restrain her to the bed. And so nothing happened, but just it was very traumatic for her. And so I kind of absorbed that secondary trauma. And, they keep men and women. I don't know if they did at this place, but we were segregated to different wards. And there was only a nurse's station in between with just glass. And so you could see when fights broke out on the men's side. So there were a lot of things like that happened. Like you said, I didn't make any friends. I wasn't really interested. And I was also pretty jaded about everybody else who was in there.
Yeah. I didn't make friends in the like lifelong sense, but I started out like thinking, okay, like I need the people around me to like me in case some shit goes down, because not only do I not really want to defend myself or have to, but I probably wouldn't do a very good job of it if I had to. So, so like I just as soon work it, from the top down instead. So yeah, I started giving, and also when I got there, I had, I was still struggling with some grandiose thoughts, and I was thinking about how, like, oh, this place is just this puzzle I have to solve, and I'm going to be able to do that real quick because I could see it already. I can already figure out what these people are up to, and blah blah blah. I was thinking that kind of stuff, and And, I was starting to think that I needed to leave clues for other people. And I actually,
Ah.
one morning, woke up and I wrote a bunch of stuff down on little slips of paper and started hiding it. So the men and women were segregated at night, but there was just a door between the two wards, and then we had free flow both ways. And it was so funny. I swear that they were playing like some kind of prank on us with the AC, because one side would be freezing and the other side would be blazing hot. And then all of a sudden they would just switch at some point during the day, and it would be like 2 or 3 times a day. And you would see, you could tell which one was the more comfortable one by how many people you could see through the little doorway. And, yeah, man. So, I mean, I met some interesting people and had a lot of really interesting conversations, because you could be very free and very open. And even though, like, you want to watch out for stepping on people's triggers, that's kind of why they put you there, is so that you will step on people's triggers and people will step on yours. Because that's the skill you need to develop, is having your triggers step on.
I mean, identifying your triggers, learning how to set appropriate boundaries with other people. It's very important.
And some of the conflict that happens in there is just absolutely necessary. There was a couple people who, they would get mad at silly things like losing a game of checkers and, flip the checkers board and stuff like that. They weight all the furniture, of course, so that you can't do any of that kind of stuff. But speaking of things you can't do, and this is the biggest thing I wanted to talk about, is there's no real good way to exercise there beyond just body weight stuff that you can do anywhere. Which is fine. I don't mind that kind of stuff. And honestly, I should have done more. I was being a little lazy with myself by not doing it, because I walked out of there really deconditioned, and I'm still struggling. But yeah, there's no real like movement component there.
No, there's no time to walk. I think we had a basketball court, but you weren't allowed to use it. I think that was just for the PHP program. Like, people.
Was yours in an urban environment, or where was it? Okay.
So it was in Kansas City, Missouri that I went. Yeah.
So ours was, I wouldn't say it's rural or anything, but we're here in Midland, and in between Midland and Odessa, which are pretty close together, but not quite one municipality. There's an airport, and that's where my wife works. And there's it's just a facility right around there. So it's kind of not really in the country, but it's definitely, there's nothing close by,
Right.
And I would definitely describe the immediate environment as rural. And out here, that's pretty forbidding. It's, basically desert and a bunch of cactus and stuff like that. So, and I think that they put it there because there are people that come to this facility who are put there involuntarily because of, they've got pending court cases against them. Some of them are violent offenders and things like that. And so they do a pretty good job of warehousing the people that need to be warehoused and chemically restraining some of them. I actually shared, so we had 2-person rooms, and then there was 2 rooms with an adjoining bathroom in between. And one of the guys, who's the next room over from me, he was like, he had to have 10 people come and give him his shot every day. Otherwise he would, start flipping and just throwing everything that got within a few feet of him. And and they would come in every morning and be like, "Do you want to take your pill today?" And he was like, "No." And then they would have to wait till they had enough. They didn't call them orderlies; they call them techs, I guess. But same, I didn't know that term for them. But anyway, it's an ugly job that they do in there, and I think
it is.
People who are mentally ill and are not good at putting themselves in other people's shoes, or at least even if they are good in general, they're not good when they're going through heavy shit.
Exactly.
Like, it's easy for someone to get on the inside there and really think that those people are your enemies.
Yes, it definitely is.
And it doesn't help that some of them probably are, I met at least one like genuinely fucking mean nurse, like, who was mean and spiteful, but she only did it to the girls. So it didn't really ever. Yeah. And that was just such a bummer to see that. She was a night nurse too. And like, she was basically, had no oversight,
Yeah.
Who you going to believe? The chick you're paying to be there every night and who's coming in clutch, handling your most difficult hours, or lunatics that you lock up in the place? You know what I mean? So there's not much that's going to get done about a situation like that.
Yeah. And who knows what's happened to her? I mean, maybe she's been punched one too many times by patients, and so she just automatically does that.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. And that's like, so I was from the get-go, like I saw how difficult that job is.
Hmm.
Mostly the techs, but
Yep.
really everyone that works there, the
Oh, yeah.
therapists, the doctors, everybody. But the techs get the worst of it because they got to be
Yep.
there the whole time. I mean, they're there for 12-hour shifts. A lot of them, some are
Yep.
longer, some working doubles and things like that, working on holidays, just
Hmm.
taking care of people who are mostly not nice to them.
Exactly.
To
We're
be able to
not
get through
well.
that. Yeah, or just who even if they are nice are just like are lying and stealing and doing all kinds of stuff that because of
Hmm.
their illness.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot to deal with. Like there was one guy who I roomed with very briefly. I had 3 roommates cycle in and out in 10 days.
Hmm.
Uh, most because they were moving people around, not
Oh,
because
okay.
one of them got out. Oh, that guy's a whole story. I'll tell you that story sometime on camera. But anyway, one guy though, like he stole a pair of key or a set of keys from one of the techs
Oh,
that set him down in the wrong spot. And
yeah.
like, admittedly, that is on the tech for setting him down within reach.
Yeah.
But also the guy didn't have any reason to do it. Like he didn't use
Yeah.
him to try and escape. He just gave him right back, and it
Hmm.
was all high and mighty about it. It's
Yeah.
like
Like, look what you
now,
misplaced.
yeah, right. But the only thing that got him was more time in there,
Yeah.
basically, because now they think this guy's a flight risk and et cetera, et
Hmm.
cetera.
Yep.
So I don't know, man. It's a rough place.
Yep.
Not because anybody wants it to be, but
But
it's
it's
just
just the nature of it.
yeah, it really is. It's
Hmm.
inescapable. There's no way you could build a place like that and have it be a really chill, like awesome place to be.
Exactly. So you said deep
But yeah,
down you kind of knew you needed that experience.
yeah, like I've always known because I remember I read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and like saw a couple of movies when I was a kid about mental hospitals and things like that, and I always kind of thought like, boy, it would really be nice for me to be able to just go and sort through this mess for a while.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
we're
and
so
I
we're
think just as an aside, during the Reagan administration, he kind of proposed deinstitutionalization, made it into a thing. And so people used to be able to stay inpatient for months and go through that therapeutic process, really try and work through some things. Some people ended up staying there for years. And then deinstitutionalization, while a good idea to say we need to release the people who don't need to be here, what it
yeah,
also turned into was, okay, all of our inpatient programs are now, 5 to 14 days, and we don't
yeah,
keep people any longer. And
yeah,
so you don't get that long term. Like, yes, you can go to a drug rehab for like 90 days, or you
yeah.
can pay out of pocket to go to a relaxation clinic and be there for 6 months. But true inpatient psych hospitalizations now are a stopping point to end a crisis, get you stable on meds, and get you out the door.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
it.
Well, and the funny thing is I almost wish that some of the people inside knew that because so many
Mhm.
of them think they're trapped there and that
Yeah.
it's jail. And that's
Hmm.
something I kept repeating to myself when I was in there is like, this place has a lot of jail-like qualities, but this is not jail. Like this
Yeah.
place, and I even would ask my fellow patients, I would say, do you think this place is a cage? I was
Hmm.
like, I don't think it's a cage.
No.
Like it's got locked doors, but I mean, in most cases, most of the people I met had committed themselves, and I don't even
Hmm.
know if that's still the right word, admitted themselves. Um, and so, like, it's a locked door that we locked,
Yep.
metaphorically, and we may not love that we locked ourselves in,
Right.
and not all of us did, not all of us did, but even people who are there involuntarily, almost to a man, were there because someone who loves them made that decision on their behalf,
Right.
and
Exactly.
so everything that I saw done, I believe was done with
Hmm.
mercy and good intentions.
Yep.
And it's just a hard thing to do, and it's almost impossible to do. You can't bat 1,000 at that job. You just can't. You
No,
know.
definitely not.
No.
No. A lot of because I worked inpatient at a children's psych hospital before. So I've
Oof.
been
Oh.
admitted and then worked at a children's psych hospital. And that's
Yep.
the thing is you get all of this training to try and treat people with as much dignity as possible. And then it crosses a line to a safety risk,
It does.
So
Sure. Yeah.
it's
No, I know.
tough.
Yeah, and then so I this is the last bit of the story I'll tell, and then I'll wrap up for today. But uh, So at one point I was having a really bad reaction to one of the meds that they tried, and I was like ticking, which I was tapping my chest, trying to get my heartbeat to slow down. And like I started, breaking things with my hands, like crumpling up and ripping paper. And I was stimming more or less.
Yeah.
And I asked to go somewhere with more peace and quiet. I actually asked to be put in, and they have like a seclusion room.
Yeah.
But they couldn't put me in there because they have to do paperwork, and there has to be like an incident, So they couldn't put me in there voluntarily, or they couldn't close the door anyway. Anyway, so they moved me to the geriatrics wing, and I went there. And at first, I was like, okay, this is fine because it was much quieter over there.
Yeah.
But then they told me like all the activities that they do are mandatory, like participation. You can't opt out of groups and things like that. And I really needed to be away from people. Like I had too many people around me. I needed to be isolated. And so I started flipping out. And then they brought over these two young women that I had been talking to probably a little too much, and was like starting to step on their triggers. So I was by moving, I was trying to pull away from those people.
Yeah.
That geriatric wing is a tough place to treat people with dignity, because some of them have, bad incontinence problems and there's a lot of kind of regression to toddler like behaviors in places like that. That it's really a miracle that as many of the people I met were as kind and professional as they were. And I told them all, like I decided from the get-go, I wanted to be as kind and compliant as I could with all those people, because you certainly cannot curse your way out of a place like that.
Nope,
you cannot
definitely
be mean
not.
until they let you go. And I kind of told the guy who stole the keys on my way out, I was like, look, man, as if we haven't already, I'm going to absolutely ditch any possibility of a clean tag we ever could have had right now. There's 3 types of people in this world: dicks, pussies, and assholes. All right.
You got it.
And dicks, you're a dick. And that's fine. I get a lot of dick friends.
Yep.
But you're not going to fuck your way out of this place.
You're not.
Nope. To get out of this place.
Yep. Exactly. Because you also can't shit on like everything.
Yeah. And then the assholes just want to shit all over that. I think that one night nurse I met was an asshole.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh my gosh.
Anyway, yeah. For those too young, go see the movie Team America: World Police, and also grow up. Get a job, hippie.
Yeah, no shit.
Anyway.
So if you had to if you had to rate your overall experience, would you say it was positive, negative, neutral?
Honestly, it was very positive in the way that like a really harrowing adventure movie is a good movie. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of really difficult parts, but I'm just so grateful for the experience. I'm grateful for everybody that I talked to and interacted with and learned from in there, and all the therapists. And like as difficult as it was, and as much as you could definitely go there and get stuck and have bad stuff happen to you, like 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yeah, definitely. I know.
The word for it really is right there. It was therapeutic.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. Yep. Just a 24/7 therapeutic milieu is what they call it.
What I needed, and I'm still getting a lot of it. I got connected with a great IOP. The woman who runs it wants to be a guest on this podcast.
Awesome.
So the fact that she even is teed up that hard, like I mean, I could get her any day, and she's world class. By the way, her name is Crystal Featherstone. I don't know if she's searchable because she's not. She's very out of left field. She is not your typical like got a big impressive CV person, but when you meet her, you'll get why I like her. Yeah. And so I'm very grateful to be where I am, and let's just hope that in the next 3 years, mental health services don't get completely gutted from the federal government down.
Well, that was the news I saw today, is that it is going to be. Yeah, it's on the chopping block.
Yep, I know. Well, hey, at least Tweedledee and Tweedledum don't like each other so much anymore.
I know. My favorite quote from AOC: "The girls are fighting."
No, girls.
Exactly. I'm here for it. I'm here.
Me too. Please, more chaos for them. Please, they asked for it.
Do it.
And they got
Let's do it. Yes. Well, thank you for sharing your story. I know you were
You.
telling me that you thought you would get as much out of telling your story as being able to have people listen to it. So,
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that people can listen to it and get something out of it. And man, there's people who've been through way worse things than me, and so it's not like I'm feeling like I don't want to be the dude up on the pedestal trying to mansplain it to everybody. But like I
Mhm.
went through something significant, and I'm just trying to be humble and like think about it. And here we are talking about the overlap between fitness and mental health. And I went through something significant mental health that has it's had a lasting impact on my fitness. Unfortunately, like I'm on new meds that make it really easy to gain weight and really hard
Yep.
to lose, and so
Yep.
that's something I plan to be, doing social reels about because it's a struggle I'm living, and so I
Yep.
might as well, put something into it. So
And a struggle that so many people face. I mean, that was like a big thing now with my outpatient therapist or psychiatrist that I have. He and I are very keenly aware of my major weight loss and that I refuse to take a medication where the side effect is weight gain. I just won't do it. And
I
luckily,
know
I'm on meds that do not cause weight gain and they
that's
work for me.
yeah, that's really good. And I need to discuss more of that with my psych. But psychiatrics is slow work, and
Yeah,
so I've made other changes that were more pressing for me. So I've got my next appointment. I'm going to attack that when I
there you
get to
go.
it. So
Yep, yep. Got to prioritize.
yep, 100%. So we went through all of my story and
Hmm.
um, brought me up to kind of the current day. And yours has been going on for a few more years. So why don't you start us wherever you think we ought to start? I mean, we've heard some of your personal story before, but floor is
Yeah,
yours.
so, I talked about my personal story where I really started feeling off as a teenager in high school. Then to cope with that, I started using drugs, smoked weed when I was 15. Once I turned 19 and I had been in college for 3 years, that's when the harder drugs came into play. My hospitalization was in 2015. So I had been doing drugs for a while. I would get treatment for my mental health, but it was really just taking medications every now and then. And
Sure.
because I had only gone and sought medications when I was really depressed, that's
Mhm.
what they thought I had was major depression. Because when you're manic, it feels good and you don't
Right.
need
Yeah, you
help.
don't complain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You can do anything. So,
Mhm.
a combination of manic episodes and lots of cocaine got me through undergraduate and grad school,
Wow.
graduating with honors. So, it was never something where I thought I needed help because I was still succeeding in doing what I wanted to do.
Sure.
Come 2015, I think really 2009 to 2015, I was always working two jobs, two mental health jobs at the same time, to
Mhm.
support my drugging and drinking. So that had been going on for a few years. And finally, 2015 hit. I was living in a place that I didn't really like and was working as like a residential counselor for at-risk teen girls. So I lived where I worked. I was working full time at a mental health center in Kansas City. It was a lot. And
Yeah.
so I had gone on a drug binge for a couple days and slept through almost 2 full days of training that my agency had paid for me to take so
Oh
that I
wow.
could be a facilitator basically for crisis interventions that everyone at this mental health center had to be certified in every single year.
Mhm.
So I woke up on that second day and I was like, oh my God, I've messed everything up. Like, I can't do this. Like, and I just started getting so depressed because it had finally come to a head. I wasn't fulfilling my professional obligations. My family had kind of noticed that something was going on because I would just disappear and not answer my texts, my phone calls for a
Sure.
couple days. So when I woke up on that second day, I hit bottom. I was like, I can't do this. Like, I
Mhm.
don't even want to live anymore. And
Sure.
I was like, oh, that feeling is not normal. I need to go get help. So I was
That's
on
good.
my own.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's neat that you had the skills to recognize that in that moment instead of letting that spiral go deeper. Like you at least caught a piece of a red flag. You were at least because you were trained in this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's really remarkable.
Yeah. And for a long time, I thought because I was trained, because I was this clinical social worker, that
Mhm.
I could do it on my own, that I was
Right.
educated, I knew what I needed to do, but I wasn't doing any of it.
Can I ask another kind of related question to that?
Yeah.
Were like any of your coworkers, did they catch on? I mean, because obvious, I don't know how close you were with those coworkers. I mean, only answer if that's okay for me to ask, but
Yeah, so no, they didn't notice. I
yeah.
I was really good at wearing a mask, and like the pictures I would post of partying on Facebook, my boss at the time was actually like, "I'm so jealous. It looks like you just get to go out and have fun, and I'm stuck with two
Huh,
kids at home." So
sure.
no, like
Interesting.
even when I hurt my arm so bad falling on St. Patrick's Day and had to wear a sling for 6 weeks, like I
Yeah,
was just like, oh, I tripped on a curb. I always had an
sure.
excuse.
You
So
know, I think that brings up an interesting point, though, the fact that being educated in it, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but being educated in mental health probably helps you mask better, don't you think?
I think so. I
Yeah,
think so
because
because you know the signs and symptoms that you're looking for. And
and
so
it's
it's
like
just
you
like,
can
oh,
see
just
yourself in third person almost.
yep.
Like that was one thing. We'll get back. I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to interrupt,
Nope, you're
but
good.
yeah, I've been told before that like that one of my biggest problems is that I mask so well, and so
Yep.
that's
It's like
okay.
you learn how to do it. It's another form of coping where it's like I don't
Yes.
want anyone to worry about me. I'm gonna pretend like I got this together because I'll just
Mhm.
fake it till I make it.
Yep. Totally.
So 2015, like I said, all this stuff with work started happening. I had missed a couple sessions with the teen girls as well,
Mhm.
started having these feelings, and so I knew the hospitals in the area. Like I had written the assessments and committed people to these hospitals.
Sure.
And I was like, well, I know I really like Research Hospital in KC Mo. So I
Mhm.
started driving myself there because nobody else was around. And as I was driving, I was like, I could just drive right into the median. It'd be fine. Like those highway barriers. I was
Sure.
like, I could just drive into this and then it'd be fine. It'd be
Yeah.
over. And I was like, man, I'm really glad I'm driving here right now. So I
Yeah.
got there, told them what was happening. Again, because I know what they're looking for, I knew exactly what to tell them. I was like, if I leave here, I'm going to drive myself, off the road. Um, so they admitted me, and that was on a Tuesday night.
Mhm.
And I think I was there through the next Monday.
Okay.
And I hadn't been taking any medicine. So, they started me on really heavy meds. And it was the first time that I had been told, I think this is bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
So instead of taking antidepressants or anti-anxiety, they put me on lithium and Seroquel.
Mhm.
Um, and I started getting good night's sleep because I just didn't with the drugs and the drinking.
Sure.
So I think I would like go to bed right after dinner at like 7, and I would sleep
Mhm.
until they had to wake me up to go get breakfast and go to group the next day.
Yeah.
Um, and it was hard because they were so busy, they were at capacity. So the groups that I would go to, there would be like 20 people in there, and
Yeah.
some people would talk more than others. And so I sat there, I had a sweatshirt, I put my hood on, and I just didn't say anything in the groups.
And
Like,
in those groups, I'm sure there's always a handful of people doing that same thing, just kind of hiding there and just being physically present. Did you guys do like activities, like guided activities in your groups, or it was just like talking?
it was mostly like an educational lecture and then open it up for discussion. Like there were no like no art therapy group, no music, no exercise. And that was hard for me because those things like are my coping skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And they teach coping skills to people who don't have them already, and they also allow, I think, for a sort of passive like regression therapy, especially like art therapy or anything where you're playing
Hmm.
a game. Like when I was in there, they played bingo. Like
Oh,
there would be like 2 or 3 times a week, they would just do bingo. And
yeah.
like it wasn't that therapy-ish, but it was still like something for us to like enjoy each other's company and like have some bonding and stuff. So
Right,
yeah.
right. Yeah. And I don't think I was there. Because like during breaks and stuff, you could go in the activity room, you could read, you could color. And I literally just sat there and stared out the window. Like I knew I needed to be safe, but I wasn't ready to participate in anything.
Sure.
So yeah, I was there for 7 days. I really wanted to get home. I had a dog and cat at home. I had an ex, but he was just as sick as I was. He was running around drinking, smoking weed, just, I didn't know where he was half the time. And then when he would come home, he would ask for money. I would say no. And then he would destroy some of our property, like throw things against the wall, knock over dressers.
Sure.
So it wasn't like I was getting good support at home either.
Oh,
But so I got home, they recommended an IOP. I went once. It was
no.
really a group of like suburban women who talked about their depression and anxiety. And I think I spoke up the first time and was talking about a Coke binge, and everyone looked at me like so wide-eyed and like scared of me that I was like,
Really?
this isn't the place for me. Like, I'm not coming
That's
back.
funny. Because the IOP that I'm in now, I'm the tame one. You know what I mean? Like I'm in a room full of people whose problems have gotten deeper and been going on longer than mine, and have sent them to some darker places than I've been. I've been to some dark places, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's just really remarkable, and I think that's part of the thing with group therapy is you expose yourself to almost your own kind of ruler of, okay, how screwed up is my life, and
Yeah,
based on the
exactly.
other people around you, and
Yeah,
it's
and
really
if the people in the group don't like match your level of crazy, you're just like, no, this doesn't work.
that's so
So,
true. Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. I've seen people come through our IOP that are instantly like, these people are too crazy for me to be here. So,
And I was on the opposite spectrum. I was like, they're not crazy enough. They won't
yeah,
understand.
yeah.
So I had the IOP therapist fill out FMLA forms
Hmm.
and I submitted them to work. So I had my 12 weeks off to get myself together. Like
Oh,
I
good.
said, I stopped going to IOP. I stayed sober for 2 weeks. And then
Hmm.
I was like, well, that's fine. Now I can go out and get drunk again. And so
Yeah,
the 12 weeks was really just me fucking around for 12 weeks, not doing anything to help myself. So when it was time to go back to work, I didn't have a doctor, psychiatrist, therapist, anybody to sign my return to work form.
oh wow.
And I had to tell HR that. I was like, I don't have anyone that can sign this. And so I scheduled an appointment with a new therapist, or psychiatrist,
Hmm.
and went to my first appointment. And she was like, this is your first appointment. I can't fill out these forms.
Oh
So
wow.
again, I reached out to HR. Luckily, I had been employed there for 6 years, so they did me a solid and just laid off my position and gave me a severance package. So,
Wow.
luckily, I was able to say I was laid off, not that I was fired, but the residential program I worked for, like, clearly they knew that I was not in a place to help, so
Right.
they fired me.
Yeah.
So I had to tell my parents, I had told them I went to the hospital, but I was very vague about it and told them that I was okay, that, I had got the help I needed. I didn't need to talk about it.
Yeah.
But then when I was let go from both jobs, they were like, look, you can either come move in with one of us, go back to treatment, or you can figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
So I moved in with my mom, went through a PHP, IOP, got a job, was sober for 101 days, and then moved back to Kansas City. 2 weeks later, I took out my 401k and did all $12,000 worth of money in cocaine in 2.5 months.
Oof.
So
Yikes.
your mom had actually gotten me a job at North Kansas City Hospital as a unit social worker. And like we had 4th of July off. I drank, did a bunch of drugs, like fell down into this deep depression and just didn't go to work, didn't call them, didn't show up or anything. And
Wow.
so they called my emergency contact, which was my mom, and I made up some excuse, some story. And then my dad called and he's like, you're using again, aren't you? I was like, yep. He's like, all right, I co-signed on your lease. That was my mistake. So I am going to cover your lease until it's over in November. But then you're either moving in with me or, again, figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
So I chose to move in with him, went through another IOP, and then I was sober for a year. Started drinking again, almost messed up my relationship. Now I'm sober. Now I've been seeing the same psychiatrist for 3 years.
That's
I'm on
awesome.
the right medicine. And then I found peer support. So I started going to this online group. It was led by people like the one guy was sober from heroin and was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and his wife was kind of in the same boat, and they were the facilitators.
Yeah.
The reason I'm telling this whole story is
Fine.
the inpatient hospitalization is not your treatment. Like that is the start of the
That
process.
is true. It's the pivot point. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's realizing that you need the help, going someplace where you're safe, where you get to see a psychiatrist every day and you participate in groups that just kind of start opening your mind to the idea of recovery.
Yeah.
And, that hospitalization, that was my first start. I went back and forth and back and forth, and it took me from basically 2015 until 2021 to really
Get on the
have my
path.
recovery. And so
Yeah.
now I identify that I'm in recovery from substance use and that my bipolar disorder is manageable. I have the coping skills. I know what my social supports are. I know how to reach out for extra help. I actually have written myself, it's called a RAP plan, and it's a wellness recovery action plan.
Okay. Yeah. I've seen those.
Yeah, and so like I have a list of my coping skills. I know what it looks like when I'm unwell, and I know what to do when I start to become unwell. So
That is really great. Yeah.
yeah, so I
You are you familiar with the three circles? You probably are,
the three
right?
circles, tell me more.
So it's I can't remember where it came from. It might have come from Sexaholics Anonymous,
Mm,
but I think it applies to a lot of different things. It's you have your inner circle is the problematic behavior, right?
mm,
Whatever that is, and
mm.
this could be from gambling addiction too.
Yeah.
So let's use that as the example. Like, so the inner circle is betting money on a game of chance or skill, right?
Right.
That is the problematic behavior. And you have
Hmm.
middle circle, which are things that are near that, like going to a hotel that has a casino attached would be a very middle
Mm,
circle behavior. That would be a very close to inner circle
right.
for a gambling addict,
Yep.
probably even inner circle. But or being in Las Vegas, might be
Mm,
middle circle, right?
right.
Outer circle are things that are entirely safe, like walking the dog or sitting down and watching a movie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I've used that before, both to help me like recover. So like porn was my big thing, and
Hmm.
it's not really a part of my life anymore because of a lot of these tools that I kind of borrowed, and I never went through anything that was as intense as like an addiction program or anything, but I did get support from a community and all that stuff, and use a lot of
Yeah.
tools from 12-step programs. So
Yeah.
like I appreciate the power of those programs as just
Mhm.
tools for general behavior change. Like even if it's
Yeah.
not necessarily related to substance or even addictive behavior, a lot of the tools that they build, and these are all tools you get exposed to in things like IOPs, depending on who you're around and where you are,
Yeah.
but yeah, I really like those kind of like toolkits and worksheets and things like that for any kind of behavior
Mhm.
change. And I use inner circle or the three circles for like nutrition advice and things like that.
I
Hang on,
love
we're
that.
about to
I've
have a
actually never heard of this three circles, but I love it.
yeah, it's a good one, and I still have a bunch of worksheets from back in those days that have used and adapted. There's another thing that is similar. Well, so the RAP plan is kind of like I would call it just a contingency plan. It's the same thing, and I've used that for people who struggle with nutrition control, which is
Mhm.
me. You know, to help like identify when you're eating by impulse, and to like have some
Right.
mental tools in place to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is why, this is what I really want. Um, And then I try to encourage every client I get with to use this 8 point change plan. It's just a behavior change plan where you pick your start date, which is, today or whatever, and then you kind of go through each thing where you're like, this is your awareness. I'm aware that these things are issues. Like,
Mhm.
here is the actual goal and the deeper why, behind the goal. Here
Right.
are milestones I'm going to track. Here are my tools. These are my allies. These are triggers I need to watch out for, pitfalls, that kind of stuff. So
Right.
and you could do all that with, people who need nutrition control, people who struggle with it like I do.
Hmm.
It's great to have those mental health and recovery type tools. But even for like fitness, like if you are someone who avoids exercise or something like that, these kind of tools, it's worth looking around,
Yeah.
because every one of these groups has different toolkits, and there's tons of this stuff floating around, and most of it's available for free on the internet. I mean,
Hmm.
I've even gone through like Maslow's hierarchy of needs worksheet and stuff like that, and applied it to my own fitness. I haven't done that with clients yet,
Yeah.
uh, because there's definitely, like, if using those kind of tools as a personal trainer, that's a bit of a gray area, I would say, with scope of practice. But
Yeah.
telling people where the tools are, I don't think is
I don't
harmful.
think so at all. And like you said, the more tools you can have, the better.
Hmm.
I'll never forget, I had this one professor in grad school who, the first day of class, she drew a flower on the board and then put little roots under the ground. And she said, "Tell me symptoms." And so we would list a bunch of symptoms and she would put it on each flower petal. And then the leaves of the flower, she would write down behaviors. So, what is a behavior you end up doing? And then down the roots were all the like reasons, like the
Yeah,
causes of what was
trauma
going
that you're holding
on.
on, yeah, things like
Yeah,
that.
and she's like, you have to address the symptoms first, then the behaviors, and then you can get down to the root cause and try and, kind of figure out, get to the root to grow a whole brand new flower.
Yeah. Well, and surely that is not hard for people to see, how a tool like that, just a simple diagram that you can draw to organize your thoughts in that fashion, could be
Mm-hmm.
a powerful tool for change, just with your diet or your movement habits or anything
Yep.
along those lines. Just or just, career or any of that kind of stuff. Like,
Oh,
just,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's another one. I'm actually going to be giving a talk to my IOP. And this is so much more fun with a visual aid, but. Uh, a way to deconstruct thoughts that I learned in debate is you start with the ground, and that's a yes or no question or a binary question. Be like, should I vote blue or red or whatever? And then you have the roof of a house, and that's your answer. It's
Mm-hmm.
red, whatever. And then the walls that connect the ground to the roof, those are assertions, right? An
Mm-hmm.
assertion is, well, I believe this is the answer because of this reason, right?
Right.
And then you have these little slats that hold the walls up, and those are pieces of evidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a specific incidence of something that is related to my assertion or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And once you build that structure, there's some kind of built-in, um, it's not real physics rules, but they kind of stand in for the rules of what would keep that house standing. You have to have at least
Right.
two pieces of evidence to keep the wall stable enough to keep it connected to the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use it in reverse to start knocking down ideas. If you can knock down the evidence, the walls fall.
Yep.
And then also the other two really powerful things that we've talked about, and this is what I'm going to talk to my group about tomorrow, is underneath the ground we have all of our assumptions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can question or make assumptions seem incorrect or ridiculous, it creates a
Mm-hmm.
sinkhole beneath the house, and the whole house falls.
Yep.
And on top you have implications, right, which we draw as a little weather vane. And
Mm.
the weather vane points to what comes next. And if you're good at it, you can make the implications go from, are apples a fruit, all the way to nuclear war if you want to.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
and that was what we used to do as like a game in debate. It was like, okay, what's the goofiest topic that we could use the implications to make it sound like it's going to break out a nuclear war and destroy the world?
Right. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh, I love that. You mentioned weather.
yeah,
So much of what we do for our mental health, even our nutrition and our exercise patterns, is we have to describe how we feel. Like, how do you feel towards exercise? How
oh
do
my
you feel
gosh,
towards vegetables? Like, what does
yes,
your mental health feel like? And you said weather. And that peer support group I was in, we always started out with, they called it the weather report. And
Yeah.
so you had to say what your weather was like for the day. And so if I said, oh, it's foggy out today, and they'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, what does that mean? And it's like, well, I just can't think straight. I can't, see the future clearly, different things like that. So that's one of my favorite tools, is using the weather report to get to kind of
Yeah.
that.
There's there's a song that you should listen to called "Emotional Weather Report" by Tom Waits.
Oh,
It's opening of a live album
mm-hmm.
that he recorded like in some coffee shop or something, or at least that's what it sounds like. I don't know if the whole history of it, but yeah, his emotional weather report is so stinking good, man.
I
You
love
should
that.
definitely listen.
I love that. But I think all of these things are just pointing to, you know, like when I am working with someone in a therapy session, I
Mhm.
don't go into theories. I don't go into like formal scientific things. It's the
Sure.
metaphors, it's the visuals,
Yes.
like the things that
Yes.
people actually connect with that can turn that light bulb on and help
And
them
there's
see clearly.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so many things, so many ideas that we just can't really learn very well anyway beyond metaphors. There's just,
Hmm.
and especially when it comes to kind of vague internal emotional things, things that yes are connected to science and yes are connected to neurology. Otherwise, the medicines wouldn't work. But are also, there's some aspect of them that moves beyond that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
And that's people usually talk about that in terms of spirituality, and regardless of what level of importance or what structure you impose on it, like, it's part of the human experience.
Hmm.
And so, like, I think mental health is at least adjacent enough to, if not the same as, spirituality in terms of the role it fulfills in our life,
Yeah,
and I've said
absolutely.
before that my IOP that I'm in right now feels like church to me,
Mhm. I
because
love
we
that.
go and we can be just totally like open and do something that is radically different than what we do anywhere else in our lives. And
Mhm.
it's we can speak our truths and watch our truths come into conflict and answer and listen, and, feel each other's questions, and like that is what makes me feel spiritually nourished, is that
Yeah,
kind of deep engagement with other people.
I love that. Yeah, it's important. They say people who have some kind of family or other really intense social supports are 70% more likely to recover. So there's
Yeah.
proof that that community is.
True, and yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the most sciencey science too, is because a lot of people try and get through a lot of struggles by themselves, don't they?
Mhm. They
And
really do.
people who actually get through have other people with them. Speaking of other people,
There's a little bunny
he's
rabbit
officially
here.
he's officially on the podcast in her jammies at
Yeah.
noon on a Sunday.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Well, I
Um,
suppose that's probably a good note to wrap up on, don't you think?
I
Yeah.
think so. It is definitely. All right.
It's,
Well, thanks for listening to my story. I will tell it
yeah.
all day, every day. And I always like to end with recovery is possible, and you should expect recovery.
Thanks for listening to the Fitness for the Rest of Us podcast. Please remember to like, rate, subscribe, drop us a review, and connect with us on social. Please also remember that we are not medical doctors or registered dietitians. We're not even really experts. The information discussed on this show is presented purely for entertainment and educational purposes and does not constitute medical advice. You should always consult your doctor before making any changes to your nutrition or physical activity habits or your mental health regimen. Once again, thanks for listening. Don't forget to hydrate and have an extra scoop of protein for me.
Hey, I'm Tammy from Next Level Me, and we are so proud to be sponsoring Fitness for the Rest of Us. Why? Because just like this show, we believe growth should be real, relatable, and for everyone. At Next Level Me, we help you reset your rhythm, reclaim your voice, and realign your life. With courses and content that promote clarity, confidence, and momentum, we enable you to align with what matters most. If you're interested in leveling up in life, not just fitness, come find us at nextlvlme.com.